पूषन् हवै वाजश्रवसः सर्ववेदसं ददौ तस्य ह नचिकेता नाम पुत्र आस तं ह कुमारं सन्तं दक्षिणासु नीयमानाशु श्रद्धा विवेश सोमन्यत पीतोदकाजग्धतृणा दुग्धदोहानिरिन्द्रियाः अनन्दानाम ते लोकास्तान् स गच्छति ताददत स होवाच पितरं तत कस्मै मां दास्यसीति द्वितीयं तृतीयं तं होवाच मृत्यवे ददामीति बहूनामेमि प्रथमः बहूनामेमि मध्यमः किं स्विद्यमस्य कर्तव्यं यन्मयाद्य करिष्यति अनुपश्य यथा पूर्वे प्रतिपश्य तथा परे सस्यमिव मर्त्यः पच्यते सस्यमिवाजायते पुनः वैश्वानरः प्रविशत्यतिथिर्ब्राह्मणो गृहान् तस्येतां शान्तिं कुर्वन्ति हरवैवस्वतोदकम् आशाप्रतीक्षे सङ्गतं सूनृताञ्च इष्टापूर्ते पुत्रपशूंश्च सर्वान् एतद्वृङ्क्ते पुरुषस्याल्पमेधसः यस्यानश्नन् वसति ब्राह्मणो गृहे तिस्रो रात्रिर्यदवात्सिर्गृहे मे नश्नन् ब्रह्मन्नतिथिर्नमस्यः नमस्तेऽस्तु ब्रह्मन् स्वस्ति मेऽस्तु तस्मात्प्रतित्रीन् वरान् वृणीष्व शान्तसङ्कल्पः सुमना यथा स्यात् वीतमन्युर्गौतमो माभिमृत्यो त्वत्प्रसृष्टं माभिवदेत्प्रतीत एतत्त्रयाणां प्रथमं वरं वृणे।
Hari Om. So the last we did was the seventh mantra. A Brahmin guest enters the house like fire. Vaishvanara pravishati atithi brahmanaha gruhan. So the story progressed where Nachiketa decides to go as instructed by his father Guru to meet the Lord of Death, Lord Yama. So he reaches the domain of death. The story we interpret that as we gather what will be mentioned in the subsequent mantras, that the boy did not enter the house. He waited 3 days and 3 nights, put himself through a self-imposed discipline of fasting. He did not eat nor drink water for 3 days, 3 nights. Now, what's important to note in this 7th mantra is the Brahman, yes, enters like fire. The word Vaishvanara, the word fire, is actually spelt out in he asks the second boon to give him that Vedic ritual, to perform that ritual of fire worship. So the fire holds a very deep significance, either be it from a ritualistic perspective, because fire, you must relate to fire as the greatest source of comfort, warmth, and solace. I don't think any one of us have ever experienced that, being in the wild, being in the woods, exposed to nature, vulnerable in the wild, with no source of light. And the only source of light and comfort was the fire that they lit. And animals run away, they run away from fire. So you are protected, and light gives you comfort, it gives you the necessary warmth. So, and so the fire was worshipped. So much so, every ritualistic practice has some element of fire. And also, why is fire worshipped? Is because fire is the first element that is seen by the eye. The five panchabhutas, the five elements are space, air, fire, water, earth. Fire is the first element that is seen by the eye, so they worshipped fire. Fire became a symbol of Brahman. So they associated everything with Brahman. So fire being the first perceived or seen element, fire was worshipped. Now, symbolically, the fire has a significance, even in the English language. Don't we say he gave a fiery speech? Don't we say he had a fire in his belly? Referring to what does the fire here symbolize? The fire here symbolizes the capacity to conceive a lofty ideal. I'm just preparing to the next few mantras that are going to come ahead, so it makes it easy for us. So the fire symbolizes the capacity to conceive a lofty ideal. And the Shraddha you must be endowed with to be able to reach that ideal. There's no point merely conceiving an ideal. Obviously, no need to interpret in this classroom. An ideal or a goal has to necessarily mean you must shed your selfishness. It must be beyond your egoistic, self-centered purposes. So the fire or the ideal symbolizes a lofty ideal, a capacity to conceive a lofty ideal, clubbed with Shraddha to be able to reach that ideal. No point having the ideal in the back burner, as they say. It shouldn't take a back seat. So these two factors symbolizes the fire, and a Brahmana associated with fire symbolizes one who has that the drive to reach that goal. It is the drive or a capacity, nothing can, no obstacle is big enough to stop his pursuit of the fire, of the ideal, which is the fire. Now, when you compare to that statement, no obstacle is big enough to become an impediment to his progression towards ideal. Let us measure ourselves with our challenges, our hiccups of life, our limitations, our preoccupations, our so-called distractions. How are we able to uphold the sanctity of the ideal and keep it in its place and pursue it? What come may, my goal will not be altered. I will not falter in the pursuit of my goal. When we compare that yardstick to where we stand, perhaps we get an idea. So the Shastras put it at a very high pedestal. So the Upanishad itself qualifies it, injects that the word fire. It has a deep significance. Yes, Aparagaru.
Guruji, how the fire has become the first element that is seen?
Because you don't see space, you don't see air.
We do see the bhumi, that is earth, isn't it?
Yes, earth is the grossest of all elements. So if you talk of the Panchabhutas in terms of its grossification, so the subtlest is space, grosser than space is air, grosser than air is fire, grosser than fire is water, grossest is earth.
Mm-hmm.
And it is measured, grossness and subtlety is measured by the number of senses that can contact it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so from subtlety to grossness, and the measurement of subtlety is measured by how many sense organs can contact it. Now, fire is the first element which can be perceived with eye. Since it's the first element perceived with the eye, it is used as a symbol of Brahman. We are trying to give a rational reasoning, apart from the other reasons we mentioned, and there's many more. But this is a very pertinent reason why fire is symbolic, not only in Hinduism, in fact, if not most religions use fire as a symbol of worship, as a idol. Fire is an idol. In fact, no prayer or no place of worship at the altar is complete without lighting a lamp. So the fire symbolizes the idol representing the ideal, which is Brahman.
So, since the fire can be seen only by the eye, it is considered as Brahman.
No. Sir, what we are saying is not that's the only thing. Even Jalam, every ritual we perform, don't we use water?
Yes, Guruji.
Don't we worship the earth?
Yes, we worship.
Don't we look around space in all directions and worship and bow down? So we worship all elements, but fire took a significance because it is the first element which was perceived by the eye. So it was more tangible. Space and air are not tangible. It's not conceivable. It means you can't perceive it. You can conceive it, sorry, but you can't perceive it. Since it's perceived, it was used as a symbol, and also it gave them a lot of comfort. It gave them solace. So it had far greater significance. They were able to associate positivity with fire.
Got it. Yeah.
Even in our world, even when you just sit in front of fire, it gives you a certain association. It gives you a certain vibe, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yes, Guruji.
And I like the vibe that every evening you have put bonfire for us.
Yes, Guruji. We'll
Thank you, sir. So those of you who are missing, you're missing it. This is an exclusive outing we are having. Thanks to Apara Garu, he took the lead and he's created bonfire evenings every evening. Clarified, sir?
Thank you, Guruji. Yes, Guruji.
Right, sir. So the Vaishvanara, the fire, symbolizes the ideal. Now, ideal is something which is conceived by the intellect. So the intellect is fired to achieve the ideal. That's important. As we did mention, the intellect we also have ideals, and the intellect should conceive the ideal, and then the intellect should pave the way to reach the ideal. Means your mind, which presents itself as a considerable force, in fact, where the intellect is not fired by the ideal, it is the mind, and it's, in fact, the best way to describe the mind here is it is directionless. So you don't know what you run behind, you don't know for what you're running. Your life seems to be a colossal waste. Yes, running without a sense of direction. What am I achieving? What is my purpose? So wherever your mind takes you, you keep running behind it. It's a sad plight of those who are not fired by the ideal. But one who is fired by the ideal, instantly the mind's directionless pursuits comes to an end. So the rush of the mind goes away. That is what we must associate with the word Agni or Vaishwanara in the context. We'll move on to the 8th mantra, please.
आशाप्रतीक्षे सङ्गतं सूनृताञ्च इष्टापूर्ते पुत्रपशूंश्च सर्वान् एतद्वृङ्क्ते पुरुषस्याल्पमेधसः यस्यानश्नन् वसति ब्राह्मणो गृहे.
Asha pratikshe, hopes and expectations. Sanghatam, merits of the good company. Benefits of noble discourse. Sunrutam, Ishtapurte, the sacred sacrifices and the charitable deeds. Putra, Pashun, sons and cattle. All these are destroyed of an unintelligent host. Alpamedhasam, of a mind of a. In fact, Alpamedhasam is a unintelligent. In fact, it is the best is no intellect, small intellects, in whose house a Brahmana stays without taking food. Now, who is saying this? Perhaps this is mentioned by the members of the family who noticed that young boy putting himself through that self-imposed tapas. He was not being offered, he didn't take. So the words of the family members explaining the pratyavaya papam, the sin that committed by those who don't uphold a Brahmana. Means how should a Brahmana be received? And who is a Brahmana? Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastani Shunichaiva Shvapake cha Panditaha Samadarshinaha. The verse in the Shastras, it says Vidya and Vinaya, one who is endowed with knowledge and humility. So thanks to my parents, one half of it I got. The other half I'm striving. Vidya and Vinaya. Vidya is knowledge. Vinaya is humility. So a Brahmana is one who is endowed with wisdom and humility. And who calls him a man of wise? Call a Brahmana. So this is the definition of a Brahmana. So it is not literally one who is born into the Brahmana lineage. It's not being born into that family. A Brahmana is, in our words, the the 4 caste systems are classified based on SR? The 4 caste systems. What are the 4 caste systems, sir, here?
Is it Guruji on Kshatriya? Like we classify the based on their work profile and the activities which they carry out or perform.
The 4 castes are Brahmana,
Brahmana,
Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Now, what classifies them? Is it the work that you do that classifies them as the 4 classifications?
Is the duties which they perform, Guruji.
No.
Kshatriya have his qualities to.
No, they perform a certain activity because of a certain temperament, because of a certain inclination. Now, but how do you categorize what classifies them into those categories? Not by birth.
Not by birth, yes.
Then what classifies them is the question.
What they perform on day-to-day duties.
No, again, you're going back to the effect. I'm asking what is the cause? What would be the means of classifying them? If it's not by birth, if it's not by action, it is by as the wisdom is not able to be contained, so it's all gushing forth. Huh?
It's like
So
sorry.
Yes, it is the gunas.
Gunas.
What are the gunas? The sattva, rajas, and tamas. So the sattva, rajo, tama guna classifies you as a brahmana or a kshatriya or a vaishya or a shudra.
That means, Guruji, I think the misconceived notion that Brahmana means the person who is having a lineage only is considered as a Brahmana. But need not be. Who have that qualities of Vidya, Vinaya can also become a Brahmana.
Not can also. Is only a brahmana. It is misconstrued and misinterpreted to be lineage.
Yes.
People who are devoid of this Vedic wisdom there was some inquiry for what is this? You find this baja and this, what do you call this? For the function, they have this
band.
What do you call them? The band,
Band.
a traditional sanai, and they have,
yes.
There was a mention, somebody was mentioning to me that there was an inquiry for that. Said peak period, we'll charge you double. Peak period, they'll charge you double charges. Visiting charges will become double. That fellow who is wearing a robe of a brahmana, doing a job of a brahmana, he is doing business with you. I said, are you a brahmana or a vaishya?
Businessman. Yeah.
He is doing business. The thinking of a business in a brahmana, it is not a brahmana culture to do that. A brahmana thinks in terms of sacrifice. I don't think in terms of business. I'm doing this, give this much to me. That spirit doesn't exist in a brahmana. The moment that thought of give and take comes in, you're a vaishya, you're a businessman. So what guna you have is only should be understood as that which qualifies you as a particular person. So when the sattva is very highly predominant and very little rajas and tamas, you become a brahmana. And as the proportion shuffles and tama and rajo increase and sattva drops, you become a vaishya, a kshatriya, vaishya, and shudra. So what we need to understand is a brahmana is one who is able to uphold Brahma Vidya. So the kind of sadhana, the kind of tapas somebody was asking me, I want to mention name. Somebody was asking me that they want to go and teach this Vedantic knowledge. They want to go and propagate this knowledge. And when they sought their advice to me, I said, first to become worthy of speaking, I said. And what is that test? If you don't get up in the Brahma Muhurtam, you are unfit to teach, I said. The first tapas you must do is get up at 4 a.m. and do that swadhyaya sadhana. And if you, I said, for next 3 months, you do that and report to me. That person has not yet reported to me. Now, I'm not disqualifying. I have no ill feeling. I'm just being factual. If any one of you want to share this knowledge, you want to think you are well versed in knowing the truth, it is not knowing the truth, it is you becoming the truth. You become an embodiment of truth yourself. Means to that extent, you must imbibe it. And the only way that makes you an adhikari who is able to uphold this wisdom is sadhana. If you don't do that, Brahma Vidya, the imbibe Brahma Vidya in the Brahma Muhurtam, you are unfit to teach. And the days where I am not able to do it, I think I will stop doing this. I will stop teaching. That fire in me will die. I must be very frank with you. If there is that fire that continues, make sure that I continue to be inspired to take to a classroom to teach. Is nothing that can drive me except that fire within me. And what keeps that fire constant is that Brahma Muhurtam sadhana. And I do it, and I expect you to do it, because if you want that fire to receive this knowledge or to pursue this sadhana, you must have that. And that is perhaps one quality that will make you a Brahmana, sir. If you ask me, there is nothing else than Brahma Muhurtam sadhana. Everything else is redundant. The way you garb, the way you present yourself, what you chant, what you do is immaterial if you are able to uphold the first. Everything else, in fact, the Shastra says disregarded. Even to the extent they say, you may be even a meat eater. They say, no problem. But are you doing that? People will give more importance to the non-essentials, but the essential aspect, nobody is even mentioning of it. And you all know how difficult it is to keep that sadhana going. Some of you have been with me for more than 20 years. More than I have been in the sadhana, they have been with me. But the question I got to ask them, they got to ask themselves, me, I'm not asking them. Are you able to uphold that practice? And it is not easy. I must tell you, it's not easy to be able to keep that part of sadhana going. So even to keep that sadhana going, you must have that fire. If I want to self-transform myself, I must do that, the Brahma Muhurtam sadhana. And do I have the fire in me? Do I have the Shraddha in me to keep that going? And that is directly proportional to the sattva in you. The sattva in you will make sure that continues. And club with intellect. So the sattva in you plus the intellect will ensure that sadhana keeps going on. Otherwise, you will give me every possible reason. So what is the possible reason that you give here? Sinaji? I expect you to answer to the context, sir. You must be in a very precarious state. You are somewhere suspended in midair. So please be very careful.
Canopy walk.
I don't know what work you're doing.
Tired. Tired, so I can't wake up at 4 o'clock.
What is that? What are the reasons people give for not able to do the sadhana? The moment you give an excuse, what is that? The moment you give an excuse, it is Rajas. Rajasma. The moment you give an excuse, Vasantama, the moment you give an excuse, it is Rajas. When you have no excuse, it's Tamas. You don't do it at all, no? You want to put in effort, but give reasons for not doing it is Rajas. Where your mind is distracted with other temptations. Your mind is occupied. No excuse, no action at all is Tamas. You're not aware at all. You don't want to put in effort at all. It's Tamas. You are not inspired by that act. So much sloth. You're so much in ignorance, so blissfully unaware. Even when it is being pounded onto you, there's no reaction. It's like there are fellows who will Kumbhakarna, you know. Personification of tamas, they say is Kumbhakarna. So no amount of effort, you have to put an extraordinary effort to wake them out of the tamas. So sattva is keeping to that sadhana. Rajas is you give reasons not to follow it. Tamas is you're not aware of it at all. Even if you're aware of it, you're not interested. You don't step up any effort to do it. So whether you are a Brahmana, whether you are a Kshatriya or a Shudra, depends on the gunas. So this mantra perhaps is going a little too far-fetched, a little exaggerated, but the objective is only to convey how you should look up. That was a society then where a man of wisdom, a man of culture was respected and regarded, and one who disrespects them is only trying to clarify vrinate, the consequences of insulting a man of culture and wisdom. Vrinate means are destroyed. What are destroyed? All that I mentioned, asha, all your future wishes and wants are destroyed. Pratikshe, expectations, all that you look forward in a relationship. Punya, which you derive from noble discourses. The sacred sacrifices, all the services that you render. The sacred sacrifices could be perhaps you perform some punya karya. You could do annadanam. You could be building temples, digging wells, performing Vedic rituals, upholding or promoting Hinduism or the Vedic culture. You may, when you do such actions, all that punya that you accrue, all the charitable deeds, the yajnas, all the dana, all that you perform, all of that is destroyed. Look at that. Huh? All of that is being compared to on one side, and how you treat a Brahmana is compared to the other. So it only tries to tell you how should you regard, how should you uphold a man of Brahma Vidya. So this tells you which is more important. And who can recognize a man of Brahma Vidya? Only a man who has one. If you know what is the tapas, if you know what is the sadhana, if you know what goes into upholding that to become a Brahmana, in the context that we have explained, Brahmana is one who does the sadhana in the Brahma Muhurtam. That is the one quality that will determine. Now, why are we saying that? You may say, sir, why are you so fanatically attached to Brahma Muhurtam? Why am I so vehemently holding on to it? There's a logical reason to it. A Brahmana is being described as one who upholds or instills the true spirit of Brahma Vidya, which is through the sadhana at the Brahma Muhurtam. And why are we so particular of it? There's no other quality. In fact, he says all the other qualities which are mentioned in the mantra are destroyed if you don't uphold or if you don't do this. So there's a logical reason why are we associating it to the Brahma Muhurtam. See, one strong point, one powerful reason we say your sadhana begins and ends between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. Your sadhana begins and ends between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. And you're very right, Padmanima. The reason why it is because your sattva guna only manifests for 2 hours in a day. The rest of the 22 hours is not that relevant comparatively to that 2 hours. It's like you go to a doctor, you have a very precarious disease, and you have a doctor who is going to prescribe you a special course of medicine and treatment, diagnosis to your problem. Everything else that you do is you follow the diagnosis, you diagnose yourself on the medication which the doctor has given you. Without the medication, how would you follow? Would you follow what the doctor has given? So it is that what you do the rest of the day is only going to follow what you have instilled in the early morning. The early morning is like the doctor's advice to you. No, it's also important what you do getting up at 4 o'clock. You may say, I also get up at 4 o'clock. Nothing other than churning the wisdom, churning the knowledge to extract the wisdom. Nothing else other than that is prescribed. You may be sitting and chanting mantras. You may be doing breathing exercises. You may be doing yoga. You may be doing, I go for a walk in the park. None of that is it's all that immaterial. What you need to do is you must churn your intellect with the knowledge so that you get the cream contained in the knowledge, which is the wisdom. It's like in the olden days where you churn the curd to get the cream. The churning is done in the early hours because after sunrise, when you churn the curd to draw the butter or cream, the cream or butter melts away because of the heat. So before sunrise, they churn the curd. So the curd is the knowledge that you have. You churn the mind with the knowledge and the ideas to extract the cream. That is the only reason why Brahmana, Brahma Vidya, Brahma Muhurtam, all three are connected. So this mantra highlights what all are destroyed if you don't treat a Brahmana. Even in our culture, in our culture, we say, it's very much contrary. RPG, I need your clarity here. In our culture, I'm sure, I hope it's the same at your home also. If a guest comes uninformed, how do you treat the guest? Would you entertain the guest? American culture, tell me, please.
That's well, it's probably changed a little bit now. We were just talking about this, but in the old days, we lived in Gujarati, you call it pole, right? In the inner city, walled city, in the alleyways, and so every afternoon almost somebody would come at tea time. Somebody is there, right? And
for the pakoda, is it? For the pakoda.
Yeah, for something. We had two varying personalities in our house. We had my grandfather and my grandmother. Grandfather was a sort of aloof, didn't get that involved. Grandmother was very outgoing, owl, come inside, give them water, give them tea. My grandfather wasn't opposed to it, but he just didn't want to interact. He didn't have that personality. But the general approach was all were welcome. All the time. There was never a time where I saw, at least outwardly, that, and I didn't spend a lot of time in India as a child, but when I was there, it was the way of life, right? You were welcome, and sometimes even some strange person might come, you know, asking for alms or this or that. And there was always something, you know, 2 rotis, old sabzi, something was given without any sense of not pain, but loss to the family, right? It was given with warmth, right?
A great joy, right?
Yeah, that was here. It's a little different, although, you know, now you call as a courtesy, right? One, you want to make sure someone's there because you usually have to drive. People don't live so nearby now. And so, but even now, people come, you give them water, tea, something, you welcome them into your house. So it's
I'm assured. So at least I'll get water, tea, and some snacks when I come there, because I might come there without informing us. So what's that out? Watch out for me. I'll land up sometime soon.
Most welcome, sir.
I only connected with you to correct that insecurity within me, you know. So I need to have a place when I come there, no? So contrast to that old culture, perhaps we need to take an appointment to go and see them, isn't it? You know, in mention of this, there is that one quality which actually is very as you talk of your olden earlier days, if you note that in Indian culture there is that quality. I'll leave it there, Vijay. Thank you. Gayatrima, what is that quality which is more relevant in Asians, in us, which is not more common in the Western countries?
We don't have to really inform. We can just walk into somebody's place and still be received.
Yes, that's
we don't have that culture.
Yes, but what is that spiritual quality that we talk about?
Atiti Devo Bhava. Guest is always a...
Yeah, I can refer to that. Couple of people have mentioned that. But what is that quality which is there in us where we don't feel offended or burdened when Atiti or guest come? What is that quality? Anybody can think of? Yes, Jayashrima?
Hospitality, sir.
Hospitality is also an English word which is born from English language. I'm talking of the Sanskrit quality which we mentioned in the
Atiti
context.
Satkar. Atiti Satkar.
Okay, not wrong. Arunama?
Hari Om Guruji.
Hari Om, ma. Yes, ma. What is that quality?
Titiksha.
Absolutely. It is that quality, titiksha. We find it's more ingrained in our culture. Unknowingly, people practice titiksha, which may not be that relevant in the Western community. I'm not saying I'm not comparing, but I'm just an observation. And what is titiksha? Can you explain, please?
The ability, the capacity to bear discomforts with pleasure. So somebody walks in, you don't consider them as causing problems to you or a nuisance. So you very happily welcome them in and give whatever you have.
So absolutely. So the capacity in one to go to any length. You would go to any great length to put yourself through discomfort with pleasure for the other. So you put yourself with great discomfort. And it's not perceived by the Atiti, it is not perceived as pain or discomfort. You do it with such a great pleasure. Absolutely right, Ma.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you, Ma. In fact, I am reminded of a very discomforting night me and Vijay had. We were in Singapore. We were visiting a family. Initial days, we were visiting for organizing lectures there. And through some connection, we didn't have a place to stay the first few visits. So somebody recommended through our contact, said, my uncle is there and he'll be happy to host you. And we landed up in the house. And we walked in. It was a very small, what do we call those, Amitama, what do you call in Singapore? SDB or SBD, one thing, isn't it? What do you call them? Sorry, we can't hear you, Ma. Some
HDB, Housing Development Board apartments and flats. HDB.
HDB, right? Yeah. HDB flats, correct. I remember. So it was a small one-bedroom apartment of HDB, a Housing Development Board apartment. And they had 2 kids and the husband, wife. So 4 of them living in that family. And it was, by the time we reached in the late in the evening, just before supper time. And we were supposed to stay that night there. And we had food, and then they started setting out the bed in the living area. They started putting a couple of mattresses. I said, and we were very happy to sleep in the living room that evening. Just one day, very happy to sleep there. And when we are about to get settled to sleep there, he said, no. You are supposed to sleep in the bedroom, and we 4 of us are going to sleep outside. Unknown, don't know. I've never met them, never seen them, never known them. They gave their bedroom, and they slept all 4. The mother, father, and the 2 kids slept on the floor in the living room. This is unasked. This unheard of. RPG. This is called as a titiksha. You would go to any length to put to ourselves through discomfort or pain for even an outright stranger, unknown person, not a relative, an unknown person. You give their bedroom and you sleep on the floor. This is titiksha. No, it is just not only sleeping on the floor or giving a bedroom. I'm saying if you go to any length to sacrifice for the other person, and the other person will not even have an idea, an iota of idea of what sacrifice you're going through to serve the other. That quality is titiksha. Yes, sir. RPG.
So I remember this because typically we had to give up our room, my room, for uncles and aunties that had come, right? And then we had to sleep somewhere else. So that was something that was very much a part, because we had in the early days, in the 70s, we've been here since the late 60s, early 70s. We had the family was, we mama, mommy, kaka, kaki, whatever, they might be 3rd or 4th or 5th cousin, right? That had immigrated, very far branches of the family, but they were just like any other aunt or uncle or cousin or whatever, closest to furthest away. And so naturally, the kids had to give up their room, right? So the adults could sleep on the bed, and then we would sleep on the floor or sleep with mom and dad or whatever it was back in those days. And some of that is gone now. And people even, or now we have more space in our homes, right? So we might have a guest room or a guest bath or whatever it might be in order to accommodate those that are visiting.
RPG, our homes have become big, but the hearts have become small.
Right. That's right.
I'm not being particular. I'm just trying to tell you, even though we had less resources, we were very big at heart. Now we have become, we have lost that culture, which perhaps was instilled in us without we being aware of it. So we all practice this quality of titiksha without knowing what it is. As you said, we had to give it was a part of our culture. So just to mention of that, yeah, appreciate Arviji. So coming back to the verse, the mantra, all these are destroyed. And also mention of putra and pashun refers to, pashun, cattle, refers to wealth. Because those days, olden days, wealth is measured by cattle. The number of cows or cattle you had meant that much wealthy you are. So if you don't treat a brahmana, your family, putra, and your wealth, your family and your wealth also gets destroyed, apart from all the other that the mantra mentions. Continue.
तिस्रो रात्रिर्यदवात्सिर्गृहे मे नश्नन् ब्रह्मन्नतिथिर्नमस्यः नमस्तेऽस्तु ब्रह्मन् स्वस्ति मेऽस्तु तस्मात् प्रतित्रीन् वरान् वृणीष्व.
O Brahman, thou, a venerable guest, has dwelt in my house 3 days, 3 nights without eating. Therefore, choose 3 boons in return, O Brahman. My prostrations unto thee, may good befall me. Swasti me astu. May good happen to me. Please don't feel bad for the unintended conduct. So the Lord of Death himself is profusely apologizing. He bows down in utter modesty, no arrogance, no ego of his position. So here we learn, which is often heard or seen in the modern world, men of power often abuse their position and status. So here, the Lord himself bows down to the it is, see, it's not that there was an appointment by Nachiketa to Lord Yama. Lord Yama was not expecting Nachiketa. Out of the blue, Nachiketa comes at the doorstep, a young Brahmin boy, an unknown visitor. And Yama had work and he was on his rounds. And when he comes back, he finds his boy and he look at the rich culture of what we are talking about is being portrayed here. So Lord Yama also was seriously concerned and he rushed to Nachiketa. And in atonement for having kept kept Nachiketa for 3 nights without eating, he says, I give you 3 boons, please. May good befall me. My prostrations unto thee. He gives him 3 boons. Please choose what you want. So it is very easy to seek forgiveness from a man of culture. UK, why is it very easy to seek forgiveness from a man of culture?
Because that is his nature, Guruji. That is the sattva guna in him, which is very strong and inbuilt in him.
So you may commit a grievous error, which is portrayed is the most profound crime you can commit, is to ill-treat a Brahmana.
Yes, yes.
So having committed such an act, when you bow down with humility, means when you prostrate and you
seek
their pardon,
yeah,
a man of culture, a man of wisdom, a man at heart can easily be won over as the messages.
Yes, yes, Guruji.
With humble prostrations and due reverence.
Yes, Guruji.
And why they can forgive is because of
their own. I mean, one thing is that a man of such high stature is bending before you with humility and asking your forgiveness. And secondly, that same kind of sattva guna is in them also. So they they recognize each other's quality and easily forgive.
Easily forgive, right? So they don't
try to be egoistic or think that they are something great because he's asking you for the forgiveness and that kind of thing.
Correct. So Subhashji, aap boliye, what would be the opposite of this, sir? Not in the context alone, but in general, if you do something wrong to the other, if one does something wrong to the other, the question of forgiveness doesn't exist in the modern society today. What is the opposite of that?
Yeah, that is a ego. I can say that ego is there, that he is, if he has not given, for example, in this case itself, if he says that you have not treated me properly, you have not treated me properly, so it is your mistake. So if you count the mistakes of other, that is the quality, I think.
The opposite of that is where you are overpowered by ego. Right? Amitama, what would be the act when you're not respected or regarded? What would be the modern context reaction to it?
A feeling of like
I think there's some the voice keeps breaking up. There's some network possible. I don't know what it is. No, it's all right. No issue, maybe if you can put your thoughts here. SR, what would be the opposite of being able to forgive another?
It's immediately our ego comes into the forefront, Guruji, and we retaliate and we are furious and we express anger. So many of all bad qualities start coming out because we feel insulted. There's many things. So we don't have that ability of understanding opposite persons, not able to forgive. This is a basic inhibitor.
There is, yes, you hold on. So the point is, you hold on to that insult, you hold on to that grudge, you hold on to that point of unintended it could be, but then you hold on to the grudge and you never forgive another person.
Yeah.
So that costs a relationship, that costs it causes a lot of damage, isn't it?
Yes.
So the point here is how quickly you can let go of that act. So a man of maturity or a man of wisdom would not nourish any insult, would not hold on to any grudge. They quickly forgive.
I think the man of knowledge, first of all, he will not get into that sort of a feeling, Guruji. I think when he is so matured enough, he accepts and understands and moves forward. There is no question of taking into the mind.
It doesn't take it personally.
Yeah.
So a lesson perhaps we all can practice, isn't it? That we should let go of things of the past, not hold on to them, and move on with life. Why we constantly live in the past? Not necessary. Right, Ji. Right. So this is what 3 boons were granted. Let's hear the first boon. What Nachiketa asks. 10th mantra, please.
शान्तसङ्कल्पः सुमना यथा स्यात् वीतमन्युर्गौतमो माभिमृत्यो त्वत्प्रसृष्टं माभिवदेत्प्रतीत एतत्त्रयाणां प्रथमं वरं वृणे
एतत्त्रयाणां प्रथमं वृणे. As the first of the 3 boons, O Lord of Death, Nachiketa is saying, I choose that Gautama, another name for Nachiketa's father, I choose that Gautama, my father, be pacified. Vitamanyu, free from anger. Shanta Sankalpa means pacified. Be kind. Sumanaha. Vitamanyu, free from anger towards me. And he may recognize and greet me. When I am sent away from thee. So he's very clear. After I have come with a purpose, I am not come here to permanently settle with you, Lord Yama. I have come here with a purpose my father has sent me. And when that purpose is fulfilled, when I go back, my father should be pacified, be kind, free from anger, recognize and greet me as earlier, because he is recalling what transpired for him to come here. His father was annoyed. His father was very disturbed. In anger, he said, unto thee I give. That's why he comes here. So Nachiketa asks his first boon. He encashes it in favor of his father. So subtly the scripture is highlighting the obligation, how he was as a dutiful son. Today, in the name of spirituality, in the name of advancement, we are actually abandoning our duties and responsibilities, isn't it? So as a dutiful son, he did his dharma. And Shastras don't talk about shunning away from your duties and responsibilities. And intelligently, what he does, in one boon, he clubs many boons. Very smart fellow. One boon, he is put 5-6 conditions in one boon. So he groups several boons as his first. 3 parts. First, he says, father should be pacified. He should be peaceful and joyful when I go back. He should not be in that anger. He should not be worried, what happened to my son? Where is he gone? He should be his normal self. Free from anger. He should recognize and greet him. So a role of a dutiful son to those who depend on us and also to the world at large. what dharma, what duty we are performing. I heard somewhere there was a mention that, I may be wrong, Kerala is one of the most literate societies in country. I think it's been there for a long time, no? The Kerala state is the most literate. And I don't know if it's true. Aparagaru, I don't know, have you heard this? That the most old folks' homes also in Kerala.
What is this? The most?
Homes for the old.
Old age homes.
Old age homes, yeah. Assisted living.
The old age homes is there in Kerala. So somebody was saying, is this the culture? Is this the value of education and knowledge? There was somebody talking about there's a difference between being educated vis-a-vis doing your dharma towards your parents, your duty. What is your duty? You know, there are people who render what is known as emotional service. I had known of a student, who does this. He goes to his services. I don't know, Aparagara, have you ever known of this? He only goes to these old homes. And it could be nowadays you have huge societies have come up, isn't it? It's a huge business nowadays, you know. I think, I don't know about the rest of the world, but in India it's booming. Huge. And it's actually a 5-star facilities. So you can ask for anything under the sun, you will get every facility possible far better than your own home. And they all want to go and buy a home there. But he used to say what they want is that concern and affection and love from someone, that someone thinks of them or cares for them. Nobody there. Even there, you're only meeting with people whose children have gone abroad, or they're busy in their own worlds and they're left to themselves. And because of the services you can render, emotional services, he used to just go to the hospitals, go to these places and just spend half an hour, 1 hour and just talk to them and say that somebody cares for you. We are there for you. I'm there for you. Just that humane relationship. So that is so much amiss in the society today. In the name of our own development and progression. Very well said, Amitama. Very much missing. Empathy is the new currency. We will print one, ma. And we will circulate freely. We should circulate it. Yes, SR?
Guruji, in this context, there is a wild cat which was roaming in the home. And like I think once upon a time you mentioned where Gayatri Ma has tried to push him away when it comes to the institute. One of the classes you mentioned that. So this guy, every day morning we feed, take care of everything, but it doesn't touch the food unless it touches your body. It roams around. It has a compassionate such a way that there is a touch feeling is required for it. It doesn't touch the food first. So you should come and stand there. So this affectionate, the remote operated luxuries and the facilities what you provide, it is no meaning as long as you are not near to the areas where you serve with your hands. That is a very distinct factor across.
Even a stray cat feels that, isn't it? It doesn't want the food. It just wants that affection, that little concern and touch and love, isn't it?
Yes.
And sadly, the reality is the world is missing today. It's really missing. In the name of development and growth and advancement, we have lost our primary dharma. That's why, don't we say, Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava. And also there also comes Atiti Devo Bhava, so the guest how you treat your parents, how you treat your guru. So all those things are mentioned here. And even before the Atma Vidya, so the first boon is he asks for his family. And the next mantra, if I'm not wrong, he asks his, in fact, in the 12th mantra, he asks for the 12th and 13th mantra. He's going to talk about the boon he asks for the society. The third boon he asks for himself, Atma Vidya. So even before you get to that higher knowledge, how are you regarding your immediate society that is dependent on you? How are you providing for the society that doesn't need you? What is your attitude to the society? And then comes your spiritual requirement. So much is being highlighted and spent even before the Brahma Vidya is interacted in Upanishad. It takes so much, it gets so much precedence. Perhaps the fundamentals of it we are lacking. So in the name of spirituality, unless until we take care of these, we perhaps may not be qualified. Sadly, Aparagara. Though we say it's a story, but there's it prepares the ground for the higher knowledge. So this part of the section of the Upanishad lays the ground. So there's no need to have any anxiety that, oh, where is the knowledge? It's going to come. Don't worry. What is that, Shivaji?
Step preparing the ground, making the ground suitable for the knowledge to get absorbed. Elaborate preparation. Very
elaborate preparation.
எல்லா குவாலிட்டிஸும் கொண்டு வந்தாச்சு, இதுல ஒன்றும் பாக்கி இல்லை.
There's nothing left.
Qualifying the person who has to receive the knowledge.
Absolutely. It's only, as we often keep saying, the adhikari, only the qualities that will really go a long way in ensuring that the knowledge is well received. Absolutely.
There is a qualification that every this thing, it's there. Unless until you get qualified, you cannot be able to go further. Amazing, this few mantras.
Yes, absolutely, sir. Thank you. We'll come back. Correct, Hariji. He is very smart, Nachiketa. He says, make sure I've come for a purpose, I'm going to go back. I'm not going to be a permanent visitor. So don't enroll me here, he says. I'm not going to reside here permanently. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.